One of the most misunderstood behaviors in women is the act of pulling away or going silent when they're actually feeling the most. It seems contradictory, right? How can someone deeply in love choose to ignore the very person they're emotionally drawn to? But if you understand the psychology of emotional vulnerability, especially in women, you'll realize that this is not confusion, it's protection, it's power management. When a woman falls deeply for a man, she doesn't just experience butterflies or excitement, she feels emotionally exposed, and with that exposure comes fear. The fear of losing control, the fear of needing someone who may not need her in return, the fear of surrendering to a feeling that she can't fully predict or control. So what does she do? She retreats. She builds emotional distance, not because her feelings are fading, but because they've become overwhelming. Her silence is not absence, it's armor. This behavior is deeply rooted in both emotional intelligence and survival instinct. You see, women are often taught, directly or subtly, that showing too much interest makes them appear desperate, weak, or easily available. So even when her heart is pounding for you, her mind is saying, hold back, stay composed. Don't give him the upper hand. It becomes a power struggle between her authentic emotions and the image she feels she must maintain. And the more she feels for you, the more threatened she becomes by the idea of you knowing just how much power you hold. In those moments, ignoring you becomes a silent act of emotional self-preservation. Not because she doesn't care, but because she cares deeply, so deeply that the stakes feel too high to leave her heart unguarded. Her logic tells her, if he doesn't know how much I care, he can't use it against me. He can't leave me with nothing. This isn't a game playing. It's survival. It's emotional armor wrapped around a vulnerable core. You may notice her being hot one moment and cold the next. She might laugh with you, share something personal, and then suddenly become distant. That's not emotional immaturity, it's restraint fighting desire. It's her trying to maintain dignity in a space where she already feels emotionally naked. And if you take her silence at face value, you'll miss the deeper truth. She's not trying to confuse you. She's trying to keep herself from falling apart. This is where your awareness as a man becomes critical. If you react to her silence with ego, pulling away, becoming bitter, or needing validation, you confirm her fear. But if you meet her with emotional steadiness, patience, and calm curiosity, you create a space where she can begin to feel safe, and safety is what unlocks her softness. So the next time she ignores you at the exact moment you feel her energy strongest, don't assume it's indifference. Look closer. Her silence might be the loudest cry for connection. One whispered from the part of her heart she's still too afraid to hand over. Because when a woman is deeply in love, silence isn't distance, it's exposure. And the man who understands that without flinching becomes the man she finally dares to trust. When a woman ignores you despite being deeply in love, there's often a quieter, more painful reality beneath her silence. She's protecting herself from her past. You may be dealing with a woman who's been burned, disappointed, betrayed. And now, even when her heart is pulling her toward you, she pulls away from the feeling itself. Why? Because the last time she followed those emotions, it cost her something. Her peace, her pride, or perhaps her entire sense of self. Love for women is rarely just about the present moment. It's layered. It comes with echoes, memories of past vulnerability, trust given too soon, affection poured into someone who didn't deserve it. And so, when she begins to feel something real for you, something deep and unshakable, it triggers the part of her that remembers how badly it can hurt. That's why she ignores you. Not because she doesn't care, but because caring reminds her how much she has to lose. You'll notice it in the small shifts. She'll seem fully present one moment, texting you back, laughing at your jokes, letting her guard down. Then suddenly, she becomes distant, cold, preoccupied. It's not that her feelings changed. It's that her fears took over. Her mind went into overdrive. What if he's just like the last one? What if he says all the right things now, but walks away when I need him most? What if I let him in, and he uses it against me? These thoughts don't come from nowhere. They come from experience. And experience has taught her that love can be beautiful, but also dangerous. This kind of woman isn't emotionally unavailable. She's emotionally cautious. There's a difference. She feels deeply, but she's not going to rush into anything that could destabilize her inner peace. And here's the paradox. The more she feels for you, the more threatening it becomes, because if you mean nothing to her, she risks nothing. But if you mean everything, then her silence becomes the only form of control she has left. Philosophically, we often think of love as liberation, but for someone who's been through emotional warfare, love initially feels like captivity. She's not ignoring you because she's playing games. She's ignoring you because acknowledging how much she loves you would force her to confront her own fear of falling apart again. So when you find yourself being ignored by a woman who once seemed so emotionally engaged, resist the urge to label it as rejection. Instead, recognize the emotional armor she's wearing. And remember, she built that armor for a reason. It kept her alive when love almost destroyed her. The question isn't, why is she ignoring me? The question is, can I hold space for someone who's still learning to feel safe in love? Because when a woman distances herself to protect her heart, it's not because she doesn't feel, it's because she remembers how it felt the last time she did. And the man who gives her peace, not pressure, becomes the one she finally lets in. One of the more subtle but deeply psychological reasons a woman may ignore you, despite being completely in love, is because she wants to know who you are without her having to ask. She wants to know your intentions, your consistency, your emotional availability, without putting herself in a position of vulnerability to find out. That silence you're interpreting as disinterest, it's not rejection, observation. Women often carry the weight of emotional labor in relationships. They're the ones expected to initiate the "where is this going" conversations, to clarify intentions, to read between the lines. But a woman who's deeply in love, yet afraid of being hurt again, won't always take that role willingly. She wants to feel chosen without asking to be. She wants to see if you will move toward her on your own, not because she reminded you to, but because it came from your genuine intent. So when she pulls away, when she becomes distant or unresponsive, understand this: she's watching. Watching how you respond to absence, watching whether your energy shifts, watching whether your interest is circumstantial or sincere. Because if you fade the moment she stops reaching out, that tells her everything she needs to know. And if you show up only when it's convenient, she knows your effort is conditional, not rooted in depth. At the core of this is a simple truth. Women want to be pursued, but not out of ego, out of reassurance. When a woman is emotionally invested but hesitant, she doesn't want to have to spell out what she needs. She wants to know that you see her, not just physically, but emotionally, that you're attuned to the space she's creating, not as a challenge to your pride, but as a quiet invitation to step up with clarity. The psychological layer here is tied to emotional safety. If she feels she must initiate everything, she doesn't feel safe. If she has to constantly guess where she stands, she doesn't feel seen, so she withholds. Not to play games, but to create space for your truth to reveal itself. She's not asking for grand gestures. She's waiting to see if you notice the shift and care enough to respond with presence. This is where a lot of men lose the thread. They see the silence and respond with silence of their own. They mirror her withdrawal, thinking, well, if she's not showing interest, I won't either. But a woman who is silently in love is not looking for a mirror. She's looking for a man who can break the pattern, who can show emotional initiative, who can say, without being provoked, I see you pulling back, I'm still here. That kind of presence isn't weakness, it's power. Quiet, confident, grounded power. And for a woman who's scared to trust her feelings, that kind of masculine steadiness becomes a sanctuary. Because when a woman goes quiet in love, she's not hoping you'll chase her. She's hoping you'll choose her. Not because she asked, but because you noticed she was worth it. There's a certain kind of silence that doesn't come from apathy. It comes from conflict. And when a woman is deeply in love with you but chooses to ignore you, that silence is often the sound of an internal war between her emotions and her logic. Her heart is telling her one thing, her mind is warning her about another, and the tension between the two shows up as withdrawal, hesitation, or detachment. Okay. She isn't cold. She's overwhelmed. You see, love is not just a feeling. It's a destabilizing force, especially for someone who's used to being composed, in control, and self-sufficient. When a woman begins to feel something deep and undeniable, her instinct may not be to lean in. Her instinct may be to step back, to reevaluate, to get a grip before the emotions carry her somewhere she can't logically justify. And this is where many men get confused, because her affection was clear, her energy was soft, her presence was warm. Then suddenly, she's distant, dry, almost unreadable. But if you understand the psychology of emotional regulation, you'll recognize this for what it is. Not rejection, but restraint. A woman in this headspace isn't trying to hurt you, she's trying to protect herself from losing clarity. She knows what she feels, but she also knows the risks. She's asking herself a series of questions. Is this real? Is it mutual? Am I moving too fast? Am I seeing what I want to see or what's actually there? And until she resolves those questions, her silence becomes her safe zone. This pattern is especially common in women who are highly analytical or emotionally self-aware. They don't just feel, they interrogate their feelings. They analyze the timing, the context, your behavior, their own reactions. And the more intense the attraction, the harder it becomes to maintain that emotional distance. So when that distance starts to collapse, when she feels herself slipping emotionally, her mind kicks in. Her logic tightens the reins, and her best way to regain control? Ignore you, detach, retreat. It's not a game, it's emotional self-discipline. And ironically, the deeper the love, the more disciplined she becomes. Her silence isn't meant to push you away. It's her trying to slow herself down so she doesn't lose herself in something she can't yet define or predict. She's not trying to manipulate the outcome. She's trying to manage her own vulnerability. This is where your emotional steadiness matters. If you can sense that she's pulling away, not out of disinterest, but inner tension, then your role isn't to chase or demand clarity. It's to remain calm and consistent. It's to give her space without abandoning the connection. Let her know indirectly but clearly that her inner conflict doesn't scare you, that you don't need immediate access to her heart. You just need her to know you're not going anywhere. Because when a woman ignores you while falling for you, she's not torn between you and someone else. She's torn between what she feels and what she fears. And the man who brings peace to that inner storm becomes the one she dares to surrender to. One of the most emotionally complex reasons a woman might ignore you, even while harboring deep feelings, is rooted in a quiet conclusion she's made. You don't feel the same way. And so, to protect her pride and emotional dignity, she withdraws. Not because she wants to stop loving you, but because she believes she has to. You have to understand, when a woman is in love but feels unseen or unreciprocated, it doesn't just hurt. It destabilizes her. Women by nature are emotionally intuitive. They pick up on tone shifts, patterns of engagement, effort, or the lack of it. And when she senses inconsistency, or worse, indifference, she internalizes that as rejection. Even if you never said a word to push her away, she starts rewriting the story in her mind. Maybe I imagined the connection. Maybe he's just being polite. Maybe I was too much. This self-protection mechanism is subtle but powerful. She'll start making herself less available. She'll delay responses, stop initiating, avoid eye contact. It's not manipulation, it's a quiet resignation. It's her way of preserving what's left of her emotional self-worth without having to confront outright rejection. And what makes it more painful is that the love hasn't gone anywhere. It's just been buried under a protective silence. Now here's the part many men miss. She didn't stop feeling. She stopped expressing. And there's a world of difference between those two. Emotionally, she's still there, still hoping, still wondering, still craving confirmation, but she's no longer willing to gamble her dignity to find out. The risk has become too personal, too heavy. This is where emotional intelligence becomes your greatest tool. If you sense a woman pulling away and you know there was once an emotional rhythm between you, laughter, connection, warmth, you have to ask yourself, did I go silent first? Did I hesitate? Did I miss the window where she needed reassurance? Because sometimes we think we're being neutral, but to a woman in love, neutrality feels like absence. And absence, when misunderstood, becomes proof of unimportance. You see, love thrives in clarity. But when clarity isn't given, it breeds stories. Stories of being unwanted, stories of being forgettable, stories that make her choose silence, not because she stopped caring, but because caring in the dark is emotionally exhausting, and no woman wants to keep pouring from a cup that never gets refilled. So if you feel her distance and you know in your heart there was something real, don't ignore her silence. Don't mirror her withdrawal. Offer clarity. Not pressure, not grand speeches, just clarity. Let her know she wasn't crazy for feeling what she felt. Let her know the connection was real. Because when a woman ignores you while deeply in love, it's not because she gave up on you. It's because she believed you gave up on her. And the man who sees through her silence is the man she'll finally believe sees her. Sometimes, when a woman is deeply in love with you but chooses to ignore you, it's not because she's lost interest or stopped feeling. It's because she's waiting. Quietly, patiently, even painfully. She's waiting for you to bridge the gap between what's been left unsaid and what she desperately hopes is true. She's hoping you'll notice the distance she's created and that you'll care enough to close it. Not out of obligation, but from intention. It's a deeply feminine thing to want to be chosen, not chased. See, there's a big difference between a woman who wants attention and a woman who wants recognition. The one who craves recognition isn't looking for flattery. She doesn't want your performance. She wants presence, proof, not through constant affirmation, but through action, subtle, intentional action that says, I see you pulling back, and I'm not afraid of it. I'm still here. Her silence isn't random. It's a pause, and that pause has a purpose. It's the space where she's observing if you'll sense the emotional tension, if you'll notice her shift in energy, if you'll reach out without being prompted. She doesn't want to beg. She doesn't want to explain what she needs. She wants to feel that what you once offered freely isn't something she has to chase now that she's stopped giving. This is emotional maturity at play. Women who value themselves won't compete for love. They won't audition for affection. So when their effort starts to fade, they're not trying to manipulate you. They're allowing the moment to reveal you. And the truth is, some men never step in. They misinterpret her quietness as indifference. They mirror her withdrawal. They think if she wanted me, she'd say something. But she did, just not in the way you're trained to recognize. Her silence is the message. You see, this dynamic is not about dominance or power games. It's about emotional leadership. She's inviting you through restraint, through quietness, to step into the masculine energy that says, you don't have to explain yourself. I feel you. I value this connection. I'll hold the space. She doesn't need you to fix her silence. She just wants to know you care enough to reach into it. A woman in love doesn't always declare it with words. Sometimes she declares it by creating emotional space and hoping you'll have the sensitivity to cross it, not aggressively, but gently, confidently, and without ego. She wants to be seen in her hesitation. She wants her silence to matter, and she wants the man who understands that to show up, not with pressure, but with presence. So if you feel her ignoring you after moments of real closeness, ask yourself, have I left space for her to feel emotionally safe? Have I shown her that her quietness doesn't scare me? Because in love, what you do when things get quiet says far more than what you say when everything is easy. Because when a woman loves you and grows silent, she's not closing the door, she's waiting by it. And the man who knocks gently but consistently is the one she was hoping would come back all along.